Hello and welcome to your first HEC-FDA workshop. My name is Julia Slaughter and I'll be introducing all of you to the FDA workshops. There's a total of 6 workshops for you to complete during this course, but let's get started with Workshop 1. In Workshop 1, the main objective is for you to become familiar with using the HEC-FDA software and the organization of the graphical user interface. We will do this by creating a new FDA study. In your new study, your goal is to define the following study components. Define the study stream, damage reaches, analysis years, and configure the project plan. There are several FDA concepts that I want you to become familiar with. These concepts are important, and you may be quizzed on these concepts at any time. Anyway, the first concept is the FDA study, or name of the analysis, which is often geographically based. The stream is consisting of one or more names of streams in the analysis, and they are defined for the study and are therefore common for all plans and analyses. Damage reach is defined as a spatial floodplain area that contains consistent attributes, and the project reporting aspect should be kept in mind when delineating the boundaries of a damage reach or damage reaches. Damage reaches are used to define consistent data for plan evaluations and to aggregate structure and other potential flood inundation damage information by stage of flooding. We will discuss damage reaches further later. The FDA study will need to contain analysis years. Analysis years define damage and project performance information for specific time periods during the project life, such as the base year or the most likely future year. In other words, an analysis year represents a static time period or year that the hydraulic engineering and economic data must be developed for analyses. For your FDA study, you will also need to create one plan for each condition being studied. In FDA, the without project condition is a hardwired plan, and it is automatically created when a new study is created. It is always listed first and cannot be deleted. The without project condition is the plan which all subsequent plans are compared against. As I mentioned, damage reaches are important FDA concepts as they are used to define consistent data for plan evaluations and to aggregate structure and other potential flood inundation damage information by stage of flooding. So let's discuss damage reaches in more detail now. The stream stationing convention must be adopted for the study. It is used to define damage reach boundaries, damage reach index locations, water surface profiles, cross-sectional locations, and structure locations. A damage reach is defined by the beginning and ending stations along the stream and extends into the floodplain to include the largest flood deemed reasonably possible. The reach stationing is downstream to upstream. The downstream station values must be less than the upstream station values. And damage reaches are unique to a stream. They are integral to both the hydrologic engineering and economic analyses. Within a damage reach, there must be one index location. One per area is required as it is where the floodplain exceedance probability, stage discharge, structure stage damage, and levee functions and associated uncertainties are aggregated. In other words, it is the location of damage aggregation. The placement of an index location should be between the beginning and ending stations for that damage reach, and it is where the data is most reliable. The damage reach can be specified for the right or left bank looking downstream or both banks. Let's take a look at a conceptual diagram of the HEC-FDA workshop study. This is the South Fork Bear of the Beargrass Creek. All 6 workshops will use data from a real study, Beargrass Creek, which was modified to fit the classroom environment. As you can see from the diagram, there are 2 damage reaches identified as SF8 and SF9. Note the stream station numbers identifying the damage reach upstream and downstream boundaries and the single index location per reach. Upon starting the HEC-FDA software, you will see the following interface, which contains 7 menus. For Workshop 1, you will only be using the first two menus, the File menu and the Configure menu. However, by the end of the final workshop, you will have gained extensive experience with the first 6 menus. Once you open HEC-FDA and create the new study, from the File menu, you'll need to enter the study information. And from the configuration, you'll need to enter the study streams and the study damage reaches, the analysis years, and the plan definition. Something to note about these dialogues, the navigation bar. The center of the navigation shows you the number selected out of the total number, such as the without project is, or plan is plan 1, plan 2 is the number 3, and you can navigate back and forth using these navigation buttons. You also have these buttons that can update if you wish. You can enter information here and then click Update. If you need to enter a new plan, from the Edit menu, click New Record. There's an alternative. From the navigation bar, click the center button. Here it's grayed out until you enter a name such as Plan 4 and enter a description. Then click the Add button. It will add your plan. Then you close. I like to make our students aware of certain quirks in HEC-FDA, and I've noted some of those quirks in the workshop documents in red text. For example, reopening the same dialogue can cause FDA to crash. Let me give you a brief demonstration. We just had the plan definition dialog open, so we shouldn't reopen it. And this is what happens when you do. FDA just crashed. A few other tips I'd like to provide you about using HEC-FDA version 1.4.2 is when you're closing the dialogues, I recommend using the File menu close option instead of the red X button. Sometimes FDA can crash. Also, copy and paste does not work, and if you try it, it can corrupt your database. So I don't recommend trying it. Also, like I showed you in the demo, immediately reopening some dialogues will cause FDA to crash. And on a last note, I recommend being patient with HEC-FDA. I found also working too quickly can cause the software to freeze or hang up. Normally at this time, I would ask everyone in a live classroom to raise their hand if they've used HEC-FDA before. That way, I'd get a sense of the number of people who haven't used it before and are in for a real treat, or who have used it before and know exactly what I'm talking about. So again, be patient with FDA. I kind of like to think of it as a classic car, not a Model T, maybe a series Land Rover, developed in 1948, or a VW Beetle, but not associated with the bad start. It's more associated with the longevity of the vehicles, and knowing that typically older cars have some quirks you have to be aware of and work around. And just like those quirky classic cars, HEC-FDA will get you where you need to go. So I know it sounds like a cat poster, but hang in there. If you have any questions, please enter them in the Google Classroom chat box or ask your questions during the synchronous workshop or review session. And there's also a FDA discourse category you can enter questions. Thank you for watching my FDA Workshop 1 video. I hope you enjoy completing the workshop.